So when you were first starting to play, what kind of pianist influenced you as a younger musician?
Yes. Well, before I started buying my own records, I had no choice but to listen to Monk and all that my father played, you know.
Because your father was the big Monk enthusiast.
Yeah, yeah, he is. He is even today. So I mean, it was Monk from my early ages, Horace Silver, Wynton Kelly. You know, those are people I listened to without you know, any choice, because the music was in the house, so I had to hear it. But I appreciated it. But when I started buying my own records, I went on the one person who, for me, you know, had what I'm looking for and had the sound that I wanted to have and grow on top of, is Herbie Hancock. And you know, there are albums of him with George Benson at a very early age, like they were 24 or something when they did that album, and you know, just blew my mind to think that at such an early age they were already doing, you know, such stuff. So you know, that really influenced me, and the way he approaches music, the way he approaches comping, the way he approaches improvisation. You know, I love everything that he does. In his experiments, the way he experiments with different styles of music. I mean, you have Watermelon Man and Chameleon, which, you know, he did, I think, in the 70s or so, and they were his then. And even, you know, the young rap guys are still using, you know, his material today, doing remixes and stuff. So Herbie Hancock comes out tops in my line of, you know, in inspirational pianist. But then also from home, Begim Seleku, who for me also successfully matched African music and jazz. You know, he writes a Begim Seleku style of music. Is a very, very special person, also spiritual. You know, he actually left music for about 2 years to go into a Buddhist temple. Spent about 2 years there. See, that's another thing I like. Is the spiritual aspect. There are musicians who spiritually are at a very high level. You know, I was concerned on what musicians really are. Today you find musicians are as much in a business as you know, an accountant or something, because you have to sell records, you have to do that. But then there's another point in the music. I mean, I went through a couple of books to see how people describe musicians, you know, how people describe music, and I haven't really found a satisfactory answer, but I understand that it's not in one lifetime that one becomes a musician, you know. It's like or becoming a master soul. You know, you are born and you heal people, you know, you can do miraculous things. But I think I believe in reincarnation, but not as a continuous thing, but you can pass over, and you can stay on whatever plane you are. But if you want to come back, or you have to come back for whatever reason, you can get the permission to do that, you know. So I feel like musicians, it's not only in one lifetime that you become a musician. It's sort of, you know, going through a couple of lifetimes, because I believe this world has been like this before. You know, there's been great cities, there's been everything that's happening now has happened before, and it's evolving. Though there are changes in the way people treat each other or look at each other, we still face the problems that, you know, the older generations, the past generations faced as well. And this world may end, and then, you know, maybe this or the earth, you know, like the end of the world the first time with the floods and whatever. It can happen again, but I think people will still be people, you know, and they'll still come back, and we may be given fresh land and fresh water maybe every 500 or whatever years, you know, but we'll keep on coming back. So I find that musicians have a certain spiritual element that comes out through their music, and I find that Bheki Mseleku, somehow I haven't really sat down with him and found out from him, but I feel that he may be able to explain, you know, a lot of things to me. He's a multi-instrumentalist, you know, he plays every instrument, and he doesn't just play it, you know, he can go and he can decide to become a full-time saxophone player or a full-time guitar player or a full-time drummer, you know. So I think spiritually he's at a very high level for him to learn all those instruments and master them in this lifetime. To me, tells me that he's been here before, you know, maybe 2-3 times before, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I love his music, also the way he uses traditional music and fuses it with jazz, and you know, he just brings out a certain element, and in my music as well I try and do the same thing. So it's following in the lines of two people, that's Bheki Mseleku and Herbie Hancock, and then there's Abdullah, who my grandfather reminded me of him, or I don't know, now that he's gone, I think he reminds me of my grandfather, because he used to play that kind of Marabi style, and it's music from a certain era and from a certain age that's been preserved. But Abdullah also is an innovator, you know, in his composition style, and his simplicity. I love his simplicity, and so in that way also it does really influence me. So I can only name those 3 for now, but there are 100 others. As I said, if I hear a good thing, I'll try and work on it, try understand it, and work on it. So there are other influences, but these are the main ones.